Since 1924, more than 4 million people around the world have gone through the Toastmasters program. The worldwide program began in Santa Ana. The program helps people become confident speakers. In our county, there are 80 Toastmaster clubs that meet regularly. Good evening. You're listening to Collage, a weekly public affairs show on FM 88.5 KSBR. I'm Dawn Camber. Our guests are from the OC Toastmasters based in Laguna Hills. We have the founding president of the club, Susan Stoyanovsky, and current president Scott Shire. And joining us is Saddleback College radio student Bahar Shahrare. Well, Susan, please share with us what goes on during a Toastmasters meeting.
Sure. A typical meeting has around 20 to 40 members who attend regularly. The meeting usually lasts around 60 to 90 minutes, and there's no instructor in a Toastmaster meeting. Instead, all of the members participate in the meeting. We have a Toastmaster, and then we have speakers, and we have impromptu speeches as well. Each member evaluates the speakers, and the feedback process is a key part of the program's success. Members can learn communication skills. We have competent communication manuals, which is a series of 10 self-paced speaking assignments, as well as leadership skills. We have a competent leadership manual. After they complete those manuals, then they go on to progress up the Toastmaster ladder of success, so to speak.
So are all the speeches really interesting for everybody to listen to?
Yes, we have the manual dictates what type of speech and how long it should be, but we can choose any topic that we would like to choose.
So are people members for many, many years?
Yes. A lot of members stay a Toastmaster for their entire adult life.
Why is that?
It's a great program where you can be more confident in public speaking, but you also become a great listener, because you do have to evaluate each speaker, and you have to be able to respond to a question impromptu. So not only your speaking skills are honed in, but also your listening skills, and it just becomes somewhat of an addiction, I would say.
Well, Scott, does this mean that a lot of leaders are not confident with their speaking, therefore they join Toastmasters so that they will become confident with their speaking?
Yeah, that's a great point, Don. A lot of people in the whole world, their number one fear is public speaking. They fear that more than dying. And so even just the thought of joining a Toastmasters group where they're going to be required to face their fear can be a scary thing. We try to make it fun for them as they come in a relaxed atmosphere where they understand none of us are professional speakers. We're all people who want to become better speakers. So we come in with the mutual goal of helping one another, providing input on each of their speeches. So each meeting we have 3 prepared speeches that people have spent some time on getting ready to give, usually 5 to 7 minutes. And then we have an evaluation of each of those, a 3-minute evaluation, plus everybody in the group. And a club normally has about 20, 25 members. They each give a short written evaluation. So you get a lot of great feedback on how you're doing. And in our club, we even record the person, and it goes in a password-protected member site where they can go back later and actually see a video of how did they do.
If you're speaking in these clubs, because the real world pressure isn't on you, would you say that it's still as effective as if you were actually giving a real speech?
Absolutely. I'd say it's even more effective than giving a real speech for a couple of reasons. One, you still have pressure. It doesn't matter how many speeches I give, the adrenaline still kicks in before I go up there. But because I'm doing it multiple times through Toastmasters, I learned to recognize that butterfly, that adrenaline surge, and it doesn't completely go away, but I learned to manage it. It becomes something I'm now used to. So it's not like coming up for the first speech and go, oh my gosh, I'm panic-stricken, I can't speak. No, it's like, oh, I already went through that feeling. Now I know what to do. I'll take a deep breath, pause, and now start speaking. It's different for each person, but by going through that in the club, when you're then later called to do it in a business presentation or doing a speech to somebody in your community, it's like, oh, this is just like Toastmasters, only now maybe it's a bigger group I'm talking to. No big deal.
Do they get to read something, or are they doing it ad lib?
They get to do it both ways. We get to use notes, but as we become more proficient, we try to get away from using notes and just speak from memory. And in addition to what Scott said, we also have contests. We have district contests, area contests, and then national contests. So at the contest, we speak in front of much larger crowds.
You know what? Go ahead. An interesting thing along that point is a lot of people belong to several different Toastmaster groups because they want to get even more speaking opportunities in. And there's actually a lot of competition to win the competitions. And the person who wins the international competition gets all kinds of accolades. A lot of people even use that as a career launch pad, too.
International competitions, you mean it's just going to be in the English language, correct?
It is, but it spawns 116 different countries. So although a lot of clubs are in different languages, they also practice in English so that they can come and compete in the international competition.
So when a person joins, what goes on when they first join Toastmasters?
Well, they come and they visit, and they may want to visit several clubs before they make a decision on which club to start out with. Once they decide to become a member, then they pay the membership fee, which is just a $20 new member fee and a $36 dues for 6 months. And then each club may impose a small additional charge for the club.
For ours, it amounts to no more than $2 a week is really what the cost is. And you just pay every 6 months. So you pay 6 months in advance and thereafter.
Do you have to be a certain age to join Toastmasters?
18. You have to be an adult.
But there are clubs even for teenagers under that age, but they're kind of sponsored gavel clubs for teenagers. So if you know somebody in high school that wants to do it, I'm sure there would be a Toastmaster that would want to help them and sponsor that club.
Share with us what goes on before a person makes a speech, which is the cause of the fear that they have when they make the speech.
What goes through the mind of the person? Well, it's going to be different for everybody, right? I can speak for myself, and that is I first have to decide, what am I going to talk about? And I rack my brain, because in Toastmasters, we have a booklet that you start with called the Competent Communicator Book, and it lays out a program of 10 different speeches that you give over the next probably 10 months to year and a half or so. And each of those have a guideline of what you're going to talk about, but it's wide open. So like I just finished a speech, 5 speeches on being an entertaining speaker. But each speech I had to think about, what am I going to speak about? So that's the first thing, is knocking your head about what do I know that would be interesting. Secondly, then, is organizing that speech. And then I think what you're probably really getting into is, what do I do when I first step up to the mic, or in our case, just to the podium? And what I advise everyone, I try to do myself, is to memorize that introduction. Because if you have the introduction memorized, it gets you going through that initial rough spot when your lips first start moving and the brain's trying to catch up with them. If the brain's already been trained what to say because you rehearsed that intro, it then gets the whole body more relaxed and you're okay. If you don't have that intro memorized, like this morning when I gave a speech, I was scrambling. I was a wee bit nervous getting up there and just trying to rehearse, okay, what's the first words going to come through my head? What's the first words? Just to get it going.
So how many people will give a speech at each meeting? Is there an assigned number of people to do that?
Yes, we have 3 speakers at each meeting.
That are pre-assigned to give a speech at the meeting, correct?
Correct. That's a pre-assigned speech that's usually 5 to 7. As we progress, some of the speeches are 8 to 14 minutes.
And is it set ahead of time so everybody knows what to look forward to when they go to a meeting?
Yes, we have a pre-assigned agenda that's usually set for 4 to 6 weeks in advance.
We actually have a gentleman called the Vice President of Education. He lays out the speaking roles for everybody. And as Susie said, we have 3 that are pre-assigned to give a prepared presentation, but we also have 3 evaluators pre-assigned that will do 3-minute evaluations of their speech. And we also have pre-assigned people that will do an evaluation of the whole meeting, someone else that's pre-assigned to be the Toastmaster for that meeting. Each of them have different roles, even somebody that does an impromptu speech through the whole meeting called Table Topics, where he has got pre-set up a half dozen different little setup vignettes that then others will give a minute and a half impromptu speech to.
You said Toastmaster. Is there one person called the Toastmaster of each meeting? And if so, what does that person do?
The Toastmaster of each meeting leads the meeting. They're basically the MC of the meeting that introduces the other functionaries.
What is the main reason that people join? Is it mostly to do with their jobs, or is it more of a personal goal?
Well, they join to increase their self-confidence, become a better speaker, a better leader, and to be able to communicate more effectively.
And it's different for each person. There are some people that join, I don't think so much in our club, but some clubs they join because they know that showing future employers or even the current employer that they're part of a Toastmaster club shows that they're willing to work on improving their speaking skills. And within Toastmasters, there's a steady progression of advancement and recognition and awards that you get. The first level is a competent communicator and a competent leader, and then there's a bronze, silver, and gold level of those. And then the ultimate level that you try to achieve is a distinguished Toastmaster, a DTM. That's really the equivalent of getting a master's degree in communication. And for anyone of those 4 million that have been at all exposed to Toastmasters and all the others familiar with it, they know someone that has DTM after their name, there's somebody that's gone through years of training and becoming a competent speaker and leader.
But I would imagine you may have accomplished speakers who still want to be members of Toastmasters.
Absolutely. And we have a lot of people that are trying to become better speakers because we give them stage time. So the toughest thing for a lot of speakers is to get stage time out there where they get real-time feedback. And we give that to them. And we want those professional speakers because that helps all the rest of us that aren't yet professional but want to get better. So we all work together.
And when people join Toastmasters, is there like a lot of friendships that form as a result of being a member?
Yes, we develop, it's like one big family. And we welcome in new people. We try to make them feel like a part of the family. And it's actually a learn by doing workshop. So we learn by doing. We learn a lot about each other. Our speeches are sometimes very personal. And the first speech is actually called an icebreaker speech. And for that speech, we like to learn a lot about the person, their family, where they came from. And that really helps us bond with them and learn more about them.
What about people who are so shy that they're even afraid of coming and practicing in the groups? Is there any solution for them?
What we like to do is we don't put them up to be a speaker right away. We let them participate in some of the smaller things within the club, like a timer or counting the ahs and ums and so forth. And then we assign a mentor to everyone. So when they're ready to do their first speech, then we go ahead and have them do that. And we just sit there and just kind of you can do it. You know, we all look at them and smile and really coach them along so that they eventually feel confident.
And after how many months of practice do you say members usually see an improvement in their public speaking skills? Does the change happen soon or does it take years?
I'd say it's different for everybody, but for the most part, it happens on that first speech. When they first get over that hump, especially if they haven't spoken before. So when they first get up there and they go, oh, wow, I'm still alive. It wasn't that bad. You know, public speaking can actually be enjoyable, and you see the people smiling around you and nodding their heads in agreement with the things that you're saying. You go, wow, this is actually an uplifting experience. Why was I afraid of it all these years?
What do you like about Toastmasters? And we'll go with you first, Scott.
What do I like about it? I'm a ham. I like to get up and talk. So even though I still get the jitters, it gets me up there doing what I think I enjoy, but I realize just because I enjoy it doesn't mean I'm good at it. And one of the things that I always have to work on is that adrenaline that kicks in gets me talking really fast. And I can talk at high gusts of words per minute. So Toastmasters is helping me to relax, get control of that, and slow down my speech a bit.
Susan?
Could you repeat the question?
I want to know why you like Toastmasters.
Thank you. I got so engrossed in Scott's answer that I just lost track of the question. I love Toastmasters. Like I said earlier, it's kind of like an addiction for me. When I first started my business almost 19 years ago, I had said to my recruiter at that point in time, as long as I don't have to speak in front of a group of people, I'll be just fine. And I really wanted self-growth and personal growth and so forth. And I did grow throughout my business. But when I started my Toastmasters 2.5 years ago and became the founding president, it just grew on me so quickly that I just love it. It's secondary to my business and my family. It's just a great organization. I love everything about it.
Now, did you go through initially the fear of speaking?
You know, because I was the founding president, I don't think I had time for the fear. There were a lot of ducks to get in a row. And so just a little bit, but not really, not too much.
You know, I was going to say, I still had that fear of speaking. I even have it now when I get up there to do it. I don't think, for me and most people, I don't think it fully goes away. But like Susie said, if you've got enough other things on your mind, it doesn't paralyze you. But I love with the Toastmasters the fact I started in just wanting to get better at speaking. But as Susie said, as you become more involved with it, you realize there's so much more to it. So now I kind of get into the whole challenge of progressing in the different advanced speaking programs and working towards my own DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster level.
So that's what your goal is.
That's one of the goals in there. The other one is also just learning about all the other members. As Susie said, we get to learn about each other in there. There's a lot of business networking groups around the community where you just do your 30-second elevator speech, and that's about all you know of the person. And here we get to know in depth about each other. And most of us are all business owners and professionals.
In case you just joined us, you are listening to Collage, a weekly public affairs show on FM 88.5 KSBR. I'm Dawn Camber. Since 1924, more than 4 million people around the world have gone through the Toastmasters program. The worldwide program began in Santa Ana. The program helps people become confident speakers. In our county, there are 80 Toastmaster clubs that meet regularly. Our guests are from OC Toastmasters based in Laguna Hills. We have the founding president of the club, Susan Stoyanovsky, and current president Scott Shire. And joining us is Saddleback College radio student Bahar Shahrare. Well, Scott was just sharing with us that he gets to meet a lot of interesting people and learn about their lives while he gets to enjoy getting better at public speaking. What makes Toastmasters better than other kinds of clubs?
There's a lot of things. A lot of clubs, now I assume that you're talking now business clubs, they have the purpose of generating business, but not necessarily helping you improve in who you are or who you are in your business. Our main focus is helping you improve in two areas, in your speaking capability and becoming comfortable and better at public speaking, but also becoming a better leader. It's a dual track in the program, becoming a better leader. And in accomplishing those two goals, though, we learn about each other's business. It's actually one of the better business networking environments I can think of. And a lot of people come in with that even as their primary purpose, but then they realize, oh, wow, they're really here and going to become better leaders and better speakers.
In the course of learning public speaking, are you taught what to do in case you're speaking and you might make a mistake? Is there certain key skills you can utilize to get through the speech when something kind of messes up?
There's a lot of things along that line that aren't necessarily straight out taught to you. You kind of learn them through the school of hard knocks as it happens to you, and you learn how to recover. And then other people more experienced of you in the club maybe write to you on their evaluation form or talk to you afterwards about, hey, if you'd done this, that would really help. And so it's really through doing that you learn how to overcome those things, which I think is a lot more effective than just reading about it in a book.
Is public speaking similar to playing a musical instrument or learning the language that once you stop practicing it, you eventually lose it?
That's a great question. Possibly. One thing that I find somewhat amusing is when I'm watching an award show on television, Academy Awards or an award show such as that, and actresses come up to speak. I find myself counting all their ums and ahs and you knows and all the filler words, and it's quite amazing. And today I was listening to a radio show, and there was a famous singer on the show, and while he was just talking, he was doing the same thing. So I was thinking, there has been several prominent people that have gone through the Toastmasters organization, and it's something that I would probably recommend for actors and actresses too. I hope that answers your question, but I think the same thing goes in everything in life. If you don't use it, you lose it.
You know, if I can jump in though, I think you lose some of it, but you never completely lose it. Even like playing a musical instrument. I played the sax, haven't played in 20 years. I can still pick it up and play it. Don't sound all that great, but I can still do it. And the same thing would be with public speaking. If I didn't do public speaking for many years and then got asked to do something, I could stand up and I could do it. I'd remember some of the stuff, but I'd probably start racing too fast again or making some of the errors, but I'd still be benefiting from all those prior years that I had spent doing it.
Good point.
Is that because there's a rhythm to it and you need to kind of keep the rhythm in your head to do public speaking?
Absolutely. There's not just a rhythm, but there's a certain comfort that comes with it. And everyone's different, again, in how they get to that comfort level. And that's a fascinating thing, I think, in our club, is seeing all the different speaking styles that are there. There are some that are just energetic and explosive, others that are very mellow and controlled in their speech. And really, we need to be a combination of a little bit of everything if you want to hold people's attention. I'm sure you as a radio announcer, you don't sound the same all the way through. You have to mix it up. And we learned that in the club, too. Those that have got a really controlled, comfortable speech, I'm always telling them, spice it up. Throw in something there to startle us, get our attention. And those that are too much out there, you got to slow it down. You got to change the pace. Otherwise, people just kind of zone out because it's too much.
Do you find this is something that should be taught in schools?
I think it would be an excellent opportunity to be taught in schools.
Do they teach any of these skills in schools?
I don't know about the Toastmasters skills. I know that they have communication classes and so forth. I think it would be great for people that are studying communications maybe to be required to join a Toastmasters organization.
I think it varies in each of the schools. My kids go down to Saddleback Valley Christian, and they actually do have a public speaking course that's required for all the freshmen, and then they actually have to do various presentations. But I think they could use even more. I've worked with my kids, and they get experience in there, but this is such a skill needed throughout your life that I think a Toastmaster club in a school, for those who want to further that and become better at their public speaking, knowing they're going to be doing it the rest of their life, might as well get good while they're in school. I think that would be a great thing, and that was something I was just reading about, thinking maybe I should talk more with my kids about starting a club at their school.
Have you seen the organization transform people into being, what Bahar said, maybe a shy person into a more outgoing person?
Going to some of the competitions, yes. In our club as well. At club level, yes. But we've gone to some competitions, and there have been people that are now professional comedians who said that they used to stutter and they couldn't talk in front of a handful of people.
I see speakers like Joel Austin and Anthony Robbins that are very fluent once they're on the stage, and it just seems really natural to them. And what I want to know is that, do they practice for hours that same speech, or is it more of a talent thing, or...
Well, I think with Joel Osteen and Anthony Robbins, I think it's probably a combination of both. Joel always professes that he was a very shy person and worked behind the scenes. And after his father passed away, that he chose to step into his shoes. So my guess is on Joel that he probably did join a Toastmasters club and really had to practice. That's just an assumption. I don't know for a fact.
But advanced speakers require less time to prepare usually. Is that how it works?
Advanced speakers, I don't think necessarily that's the truth. I think that they can probably do an impromptu very easily, but if they really wanted to do a speech and hit on certain topics to be very effective, I think they would want to take the time to prepare. If
I can just add into that, because I've talked with several different professional speakers and how do they go about that, and I know if you're comfortable already speaking and thinking on your feet, you can stand up and put together a speech and give it reasonably well fairly quickly. The key is to where it becomes a natural presentation. And if you're trying to do something where you're covering a lot of material, where it requires a lot of information coming through, if you just put it together and then get up to give it, it may be very mechanical sounding. And so for those kind of speeches, the professional speakers will go through it and present it at least a dozen times until it's finally becoming just part of who they are and they can talk to it. And that's why we advise most of our members, they want to write out their script for what they're going to say, then rewrite it again as just kind of an shortened sentences, and then redo it again as just an outline where you just have key words that you'll look at, and they'll bring back the memory of what you're going to say. That way the words coming out are your own words, not reading from a script.
What kind of speeches do you like giving, Scott?
I like doing entertainment ones that take something from around life and look at it that add a little bit of levity. I did a recent one on disciplining my kids. I have quintuplets, which kind of an interesting, so 5 kids that are turning 16 next month, and talking about how we used to discipline them when they were little kids, and that's an interesting story in itself. Today, I see the look on your face. Today I did one on speaking and the power of words. Your mouth is still dropping over there. Yeah, so I've done a lot of speeches on the kids, which is always a fun one, and I enjoy that topic because I know it really well.
Oh, my goodness. Susan, the question I asked, what kind of speeches do you like giving?
I like to give motivational speeches. I'm a Mary Kay sales director, and in my business, I teach and mentor women to be their very best. So I love to give motivational speeches and positive speeches.
Does watching people give public speeches, like on TV event, does that would that improve your speaking skills as well?
Yes. I think so.
It is frustrating, though, watching people speak on the television and hearing all their, and all those kind of what we call filler words. You think, wow, you're a professional up there. You're a politician with people voting for you, and you're driving me crazy, kind of thing. So you can tell people that have really polished their speaking presence versus those that haven't. So it is interesting watching and developing a critical ear.
Have you ever thought to try to recruit people who are elected to public office to join Toastmasters so that when they talk to people like yours truly, they can speak better to people like yours truly?
I hadn't, but I am now. Thanks for that idea.
Yes, I think that's an excellent idea.
Because people who have high positions don't necessarily speak well.
Correct. And you see that all around. And even like in the actors where you think they do such a great job on the silver screen, but what they've done is taken what someone else has written and memorized it and practiced it. And then they give someone else's speaking up there or someone else's script up there. But when they're asked to speak themselves off the cuff, they have a very difficult time doing it. Oh, that's what I wanted to say was in Toastmasters, we develop both skills. So that's why we have you develop prepared speeches, generally 5 to 7 minute speeches. But we also, every meeting, have what's called table topics, which is kind of like a lightning round where somebody throws out a scenario and then call somebody. You don't know who he's going to call, so you have to be ready for every scenario if they're going to call on you, and you have to stand up impromptu and give a minute and a half long response to that. So it really gets you used to thinking on your feet as one part of speaking and the other one having prepared speeches.
So you would say it would actually help people who are interested in acting as well?
Absolutely. I think it would be a great benefit to them. And we would love it also just for the mix that it gets into the overall group, because we have quite a variety of people there.
How can people join Toastmasters?
We would love to have them join our club, and we are OC Toasters, but they can go to the international website, which is www.toastmasters.com.
And then what do they do?
They can click on Find a Club, and they can choose the area in which they would like to join a club. And then they would contact the club president and look for when the meetings are and go and visit the club.
Now, one of the things that's really interesting is that because there are so many clubs, they all meet at different times and they all have a different flavor to them. So I always encourage people to try 2 or 3 different clubs. Ours meets on Monday mornings at 7 a.m. at Polly's Pies in Laguna Hills. And you can find out more about our club by just on the internet at octoasters.com. And that will tell you more about our club. But I know there's lots of other clubs that meet on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday mornings. There's also ones that meet in the evening time. There's ones down here in South OC, Irvine, all around.
Do people ever join more than one Toastmasters?
Yeah, like I said, a lot of people are members of several so that they get more speaking time. And there's some really neat, unique clubs also. There's one up in Anaheim that's the Humor Masters. So they only meet once a month, but it's always about giving humorous speeches. There's another one that's called the Taboo Club. They talk about sex, politics, and religion, the things that are normally taboo to speak about. So depending on what you want, there's a club for you.
Just curious, if someone is a member of the Toastmasters and they want to get more experience other than coming to the clubs, can they practice in front of their family members as well, or is that not the same?
Oh, no, that's a great thing to do. I'd say not only practice in front of family members and get their feedback, but also record yourself on your own little camera that you have. Pull out your iPod or whatever and record yourself and see how you look to your family members from their perspective. Because that live video, it's such a cruel piece, but so helpful to see. You can't argue with the video.
So people shouldn't be scared to join your organization.
Oh, no. We're all there to help each other. None of us are professionals in our group from a speaking standpoint, although there are lots of clubs that have got professionals in them. There's even a club that meets on Monday night and Wednesday night once a month. That is a professional speakers club, which, again, some of our members are now members of that, working to become paid professional speakers. But as far as being afraid to come into club, no, that's why we're all there. Everyone came in nervous, wanting to get better.
You have been listening to Collage, a weekly public affairs show on FM 88.5 KSBR. I'm Dawn Camber. Our guests have been from the OC Toastmasters based in Laguna Hills. We had the founding president of the club, Susan Stoyanovsky, and current president Scott Shire. And joining us has been Saddleback College radio student Bahar Sharare. Please join us next week for another show right here on FM 88.5 KSBR.